Now let's go to Louie Gohmert, one of the representatives who I believe is one of the braver people in Washington, D.C. And Louie, I first of all, I want to thank you so much for what you're doing and trying to get the 70 Republicans that do have spines to stand against any legislation that is a Trojan horse for this amnesty bill. Thank you for that. But I really wanted to go to you on an exchange that you had yesterday with Robert Mueller on the Boston bombing. I don't think I've ever heard anything like this, Louie.
Thank you. I'm glad you pay attention. I wish more people in the government did.
I wish more people in the news department did as well. We have a story up on the Blaze. It's been there for I don't know how many days now. I'm trying to find the story here. It was still the third biggest story just a couple of hours ago that showed Egypt, their parliament, and Morsi saying that their number one enemy is Israel and the United States. And Morsi had to come in and say, guys, I just want to remind you that this is live on television, because he said we can't let anybody know that our real enemy is the United States and Israel. And that was broadcast on television, and nobody's covering it. Nobody's covering it.
Well, whenever I can get to a computer, I check the place. And, I saw that story there first. And, but of course, one of the reasons reporters may be a little nervous, they may be concerned that if they really dig into what the facts are on any important issue, then they may find themselves in the position Cheryl Atkinson has now found herself, where the government is more concerned about them than it is about the disasters that are awaiting and have happened to this country.
Well, I want to just kind of go over this with you, because Mueller yesterday couldn't answer any questions on the FBI's investigation on the IRS. No question. Doesn't even know who's leading the investigation.
Not a clue.
Okay, and then you drilled him on the Boston Mosque, and can we play a bit of this? And I'd just like to get your response on one question. Go ahead, here's the...
Your facts are not altogether well...
All right, point out specifically...
May I finish my
point out specifically. Sir, if you're going to call me a liar, you need to point out specifically where any facts are wrong.
We went to the mosque prior to Boston.
Prior to Boston
happening, we were in that mosque talking to the imam several months beforehand as part of our outreach efforts.
Were you aware that those mosques were started by Al-Amudi?
I've answered the question, sir.
No, you didn't.
You didn't answer the question. Were you aware they were started by Al-Amudi? You were not. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen. So here's the thing. He said to you, we were there. Your facts are wrong. We were there as part of our outreach. So what does that mean? Was the director there praying on the rugs 5 times a day?
My facts were not wrong, because I accused them of not doing research on the Tsarnaevs at the mosque where they were attending. And these mosques, from what I understand, and we want to drill down and find out more information, but there are other people that have been radicalized there. We need to find out, and the FBI should have been curious. You know, how many people are getting radicalized at this mosque? And so when he says it was part of the outreach, and frankly, he was I couldn't hear him say it was our outreach efforts until afterwards. But if I'd heard the outreach, I would have drilled him on that, because that means my facts were right. They did not go do an investigation.
No, they didn't do an investigation. They went to go hear how great Islam was and how they can all work together.
And actually, Glenn, that goes back to a prior hearing where Mueller testified, and he said, and he kept responding to people before me, saying the Muslim communities are exactly like every other community in America. And he kept making that point. So it got to me. I hadn't planned on asking, but I was going, you keep talking about how the Muslim communities in America are exactly like every other community, every other religious community in America. And I said, well, you've said that, and then you talked about your outreach effort to the Muslim community, and you have a specific part of the FBI that does outreach for the Muslim community. And I said, so how are the outreach efforts for the Baptists and the Jews and the the Buddhists? How are those groups doing it? Well, he didn't have a group like that, but But overall, we always reach out to everybody, but they've got a specific group that does outreach. And you can go back to 2009, Glenn, and find a letter from the deputy director of the FBI saying that because it's been proven that CARE in the Holy Land Foundation trial had evidence about it, then we're suspending our partnership. With CARE. The Fifth Circuit confirmed that ISNA, CARE, they're the largest front organizations for the Muslim Brotherhood, so they have suspended their partnership with CARE. It's just incredible. Okay. And that's all they were doing, just outreach, go love, and maybe they sang Kumbaya or something while they were there.
They really think that Louie, they think that we are the enemies of this country, and they are doing everything they can to support the radicals in this country. They have flipped everything upside down.
It is upside down. You've talked about that so many times that that's exactly what has happened. And this mosque was started by the Islamic Society of Boston, and that, I've got the papers here, and he was not even aware of it. I'm not FBI, but it turns out that I'm more leather running some of this stuff down than they do. But the Islamic Society of Boston was started by Al-Moody, who is now doing over 20 years in prison because he was supporting terrorism.
I will tell you this, the Blaze is going to do a week-long special this fall on Islamic radicals, and we are going to name names, and we're going to show all of this because we've nailed it down. And we're going to show it all. The American people need to know, not just the vague things like what we're talking about here. You need to see how it has happened and who's involved in both parties. Louie, I just wanted to pass on one thing to you. You guys have asked me to come to this event on Wednesday, and you said you would make a place for me in this press conference to speak. It is extraordinarily difficult for me to, move from place to place, and extraordinarily expensive and everything else. And I have hesitated, but I've decided this morning that I think this is really important for me to be there. But I would like you to go back and talk to the leaders. I'll do it under one condition. I have, and I'll speak to you guys about it off air, but I have some things that I think need to be said, and some things, and I believe this is a civil rights movement. And I wouldn't mind making this.
I heard you say that this week, and it just, a light bulb went off. I'd never thought about it in those terms, Glenn. That's an extraordinary note. But you're right.
I am sitting here next to a pennant that was carried with Martin Luther King for his March on Washington on August 28th, 1963, for jobs and freedom. And if that's not what you're standing for jobs and freedom, and not just the jobs for, Americans, but people who have come through the door the right way. This is going to significantly impact them. And it is time that we carry the torch of civil rights. And a lot of people don't understand that. But I have put together a small little team, and I don't know if they're ready to go yet, but I think they might be able to do it. But I would like to ask if I could speak, if I could speak my mind, and I will be there. I think we have some announcements to make.
I don't have to check with Michelle and Steve. I can tell you right now, that sounds fantastic. You can count on it.
Well, then we have, I will help your press conference make a little bit of more news, because we are going to, it'll be a little coming out party for us as well on Wednesday.
The team you've been talking about, that I've heard you talk about on this issue, then I'll be excited. I just think it's an incredible insight into really what's at stake here. It is people's civil rights, and they're being eroded, and everything seems to be upside down. And so I think that's a fantastic approach, because it gets right to the truth. And by the way, there are other people, Kawidari, there's another name associated with these folks in Boston. By the way, this Boston Mosque had filed a lawsuit for defamation against a number of people, and they ended up dropping it when they started to do depositions. But that group has 39 boxes of information There are myriad of accounts. There's all kinds of information that others have had to do, Glenn, because the FBI and the Justice Department are more concerned about who's leaking the truth out than they are about who is creating problems for America.
Well, Louie, you have 70 people in Washington that are not willing to sit down on this, and we are going to watch your back. At least I am. I've begged for you guys to do it, and now you're doing it, and I won't be George H.W. Bush telling the Kurds to stand up, and then when they do, we won't cover you with air support. So I will be there on Wednesday. And
your monologue yesterday was deeply moving. I mean, I'm not going to turn into Tammy Faye Boehner, but I was deeply moved by what you said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louie. I appreciate it.
Thank
okay.
you.
Tammy Faye Boehner, by mistake?
Yeah, I think he's got Boehner on his mind. I think he's got Boehner on his mind.
Was that a mistake? No,
that was on purpose. I bet that was on purpose.
Tammy Faye Boehner was absolutely on purpose.
It's
That's
probably
funny.
exactly on purpose.
I love that.
All right, here is our...
Tammy Faye Boehner.
I hate to make fun of people who
you don't
cry,
have any ground here, but
right,
still.
But you do.
Yes.
Here is the sponsor of this